Hey Pokemon fans, I think I'm about to annoy a lot of you. Since the Scarlet and Violet era has officially come to an end, I figured now would be a good time to go back and look at each set that was released and rank them. There were a total of 16 sets we need to look at. I'm absolutely certain that some of my choices are going to be controversial. Feel free to yell at me in the comments. With all that in mind, I created a template on Tier Maker, which I will link in the description below. I want to see all of your rankings and see how much people's opinions differ. It's really cool how it feels like there's something for everyone with Pokemon cards. In fact, I just posted a short showing one of my Flareon cards, and it's funny seeing the extremely polarizing opinions on whether it was cute or creepy looking. I think it was creepy. Make sure you subscribe if you want to be part of things like that. I'll be running some Pokemon card giveaways soon that you definitely won't want to miss. Here is the tier list I set up with all the sets in order of release. My general meaning for each tier is, the S tier is elite. It truly stands out across all Pokemon card history. A tier is a great solid addition. I'd be more than happy to add these cards to my collection. B is a mid-road set. It may have some cool stuff, but has just as much boring or negative stuff as well. C is actively bad. The things don't feel cohesive, or maybe the set feels lazy. Even with a couple standout cards, sets can land in here. F is basically scam tier. It's a set that takes away from Pokemon and collecting as a whole. With all that laid out, let's finally get into the rankings. We kick off with the first set of a new generation, Scarlet and Violet. New gen sets always introduce new card styles, new mechanics, and new Pokemon, and that can all be pretty exciting. This is the first set that shifts from the iconic yellow borders into these silver/gray borders. This could be nostalgia talking, but I think these look worse than the yellow and are a solid knock against Scarlet and Violet. I realize yellow was probably harder to artistically work with, but we also had cards with black borders, and I think in general those look better. The other noticeable style change we see is no longer having set symbols. Some may feel like this is a minor thing, but the 3-letter abbreviations feel so lifeless to me. Another knock against. In terms of new mechanics, we see terrestrialization introduced, just like in the games and show. This definitely makes sense as a mechanic, but boy does it make for some ugly Pokemon cards. Arcanine is probably my favorite Pokemon, and I think this card looks terrible. With that, let's get into the actual Pokemon in cards. The overall mix is decent, and since it's a new gen, they needed to introduce new Pokemon. But they also included several mainstays to try and keep people interested. There is some cool artwork that jumps out when looking through the set. A card like Mabostiff is incredibly intense. I like Go-Go's chill vibes. We're still seeing clay models like this Starly. And of course we have more rare stuff. I'm a big fan of this Great Tusk EX, and we can't forget this very unique Drowsy card. There are for sure a bunch of very good looking illustration rares, although that is becoming the norm. They even did pretty well with some of the full art trainer cards. Unfortunately, there's also some bad in this set. I showed off that double rare Arcanine earlier, and that really flows through the whole set with these EX cards. The new style is cheap looking. Look at this Iron Treads card. This has got to be one of the worst cards I've ever seen. The other Iron Treads cards aren't great either. The weird ultra rare style they went with isn't my favorite. It's hard to put my finger on it. It's almost like they made them purposefully clashing, and I find that to be more distracting instead of nice to look at. Also, again with these Terra style cards making the Pokemon too wonky looking. Finally, we see the gold cards. I hate it. I know some people like these, but it feels like a lazy way to imply rarity. Unfortunately, all the upcoming sets don't move away from this. I know this isn't the first time we've seen gold cards, but this Scarlet and Violet set gets the knock against for setting the pattern through this gen. It being a reasonably priced set is a definite point in its favor. It's around 700 Canadian to complete it. This means you can pick up pretty much any card in here, with the chase only being $60. The set having 198 base cards and 60 secret cards is, however, an insane decision. Sets are too big. That is way too many secret cards. I hate this new paradigm that Pokemon has created. With all that being considered, I feel very confident putting this in the C tier. Really not a great start to the generation. Hopefully it gets better with the next one. Next up is Paldea Evolved, another too big set with 193 cards and 86 secret rare cards. Again, as an OG Pokemon card fan, I feel like this is a grubby move by Pokemon to inflate sets and their costs. Look at how many repeat Pokemon show up between Scarlet and Violet and Paldea Evolved. It stood out a lot to me looking at these two sets back to back. Not off to a great start with this set, but there still are some positives that jump out. Look at these Heracross cards. I really dig them. There's some other standouts like this Tauros, Veluza, Pikachu, and Raichu. And then several very interesting illustration rare cards, like Sprigatito, Fletchinder, Fuecoco, Raichu, and Tauros, among others. This Farigiraf is a cheeky little card too. They even continue the trend of cool trainer cards like these. Unfortunately, there are more gold cards than the last set, trending the wrong way there. It feels like there are just as many ugly cards in here. Look at this Glimmet line, or this Wo-Chien EX card. Big miss here. Then we have all these cards where I find the artwork to be incredibly muddled and awkward. There's also no improvement on the ultra rares. In fact, there's even more of them now, all still just as clashing. Finally, we can't talk about Paldea Evolved without talking about Magikarp. I can definitely see why some people love this card. I'm not one of them. At $370 Canadian, it's pretty expensive, but not fully into the outrageous tier yet. I wouldn't chase after it personally. I'd rather spend just $30 and look at this cool Skeledirge vibing down the street instead. I won't hold the Magikarp against the set, since I can get the appeal. All of this leads me into no improvement, another C tier set. Now on to Obsidian Flames, and it doesn't look like we're in for a trend shaker here. The immediate thing that jumps out is that this set is cheap. Cheap enough that I'm just a few cards away from completing it myself. It's sitting at just $540 Canadian for a set with 197 regular cards and 33 secret rares. Having a Charizard, in this case multiple, usually means big, expensive chase cards. But since the artwork is more divisive, it is fairly reasonable, in today's market at least, at $170. Now, Charizard is often used as a set Kickstarter, a way for Pokemon to just print money. I love to see that there isn't just blind devotion for the set just because it has Charizards. Let's take a look at some of the cards that actually stand out to me. I'm a big fan of quirky cards, like this Route Pidgey line. They cooked with this Ninetales card in my opinion. With the regular rarities, there are some cool cards as well. Several of them fire types, like this Charmeleon, Ninetales, Entei, Darmanitan, and Heatmore. For non-fire types, you have cards like Sharpedo, Umbreon, Houndoom, and Dragonair. But how can you go from this Dratini into this Dragonair and then end up with this Dragonite card? So bad. I'm happy that they really reduced the gold cards in the set with just 3, but they didn't bring any fire with the training cards like they did with the last 2. The cheapness of the set helps its case, but it's mainly because they're using high rarity slots on cards like this Golmora and these 2 River of Room cards. I really feel no remorse putting the 3rd set in a row into the C slot. I'm sure Pokemon had this one in their back pocket for a while. If there was ever a sure shot of success in the Pokemon card world, doing a set on the original 151 Pokemon is probably it. I can't dodge around this one. There's no way I can fight off my nostalgia. This set is amazing. Just based on how hard and how expensive it is to get packs and sealed products for a set that is only a year and a half old, I know I'm not alone in this. Let's get the general bookkeeping out of the way. The set's a little smaller than the others at 165 plus 42 secret rare cards. It's still way too big, but it feels a tad more concise than the last 3. Overall, the set is also a somewhat accessible price at $17.50 Canadian. That's twice as much as it should cost, but that's the world we live in today. As a small plus, there are again just 3 gold cards. 0 is the correct number, but this is much better than the 9 we saw from Paldea Evolved. Since the scale of what is good to what is bad is so skewed to good for this set, I really just want to start with talking about the bad cards. It's really the same old song and dance. These ultra rare cards are still ugly. You okay, Jinx? The double rare EX cards are still cheap looking too. The one that annoyed me the most is when you look at this great Articuno, this feisty Moltres, and then they complete the trio with this Zapdos. These EXs are maybe slightly better than the last sets, but that's a pretty low bar. This is where I would normally show you all the cool, lower rarity cards in the set. But the reality is, the percentage of good ones is so high that it would take forever for me to go through them one by one. Let's just look through this as a set. All the basic and stage 1 starters immediately look so good. I'll speed this up, but even these basic bug and normal type Pokemon look great.
It's Pikachu!
Then we hit one of my favorites, this Nidoking here. Just basically no misses in here. Almost every card is somewhat interesting to look at. Even that Slowpoke there. Look at this Ghastly, Hunter, and Gengar. Love them. And Staryu and Starmie are top tier. And that's a really nice Flareon. Capped off with that awesome Mewtwo. Okay, I can't settle for firing through these. The IRs and SIRs are so good that I'm going to have to spend all the extra editing hours just to show them one by one. Again with the starters, this Bulbasaur line looks so good. So does this Charmander line. And so does the Squirtle line. On top of that, we have this Caterpie, Pikachu, my personal favorite Nidoking, Psyduck, Poliwhirl, Alakazam, and this excellent Zapdos. I would wager all of these cards are in the top 5 for each Pokemon. There are a few more I'm missing, but I think you get the point. You can probably guess where I'm going to put this set. Straight to S tier. As someone who has been collecting since the original base set, I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what sets are going to stand the test of time, and this is definitely one of them. Okay, tough to follow up 151. It was going to be an uphill battle no matter what Pokemon released. As a result, I actually think Paradox Rift is a little underrated. Paradox Rift introduces a new mechanic with the Ancient and Future cards, and as a casual TCG player, I don't mind this at all. I think the little extra flair adds to some cards is actually kind of nice. It's back to more of a mixed bag in terms of regular card quality. I like this Claytoxel, but Galvantula is a little boring. I like this Crocolore. I don't like this Wugtrio. They had a really cool art style going with the Wiglets and threw it away. I do think they're slightly more good than bad, although I find this Mewtwo card to be so jarring every time I look at it. The illustration rares feel like it's where Paradox Rift steps up slightly from some of the others. Looking at them all at once, I like the diversity. Just look at this Vanillish, and then something like this Blitzel. I feel like they missed the mark with this Garbodor. It was so close to being good, but the color palette doesn't seem to fit with the vibe of Garbodor quite right. You know what does fit the vibe? The chase card Groudon. Wow. This card is incredible. I'm for sure ranking this as my #1 favorite Groudon. A couple other shoutouts for cards like this stylish Loudred, this helpful Steelix, and this absolutely sinister Golosapod. Unfortunately, we are back to a bunch of gold cards at 7, and some of these are especially bad. With all that being said, I feel like there was some minor improvement over the first 3 sets, and I'm putting Paradox Rift into the B tier. Now we're looking at Paldean Fates. 2 things immediately jump out at me. This set costs $2,600 Canadian. That's a lot. And there are 91 regular cards and 154 secret cards. That is some garbage right there. On the plus side, I'm going to be able to keep this section short. I just want to mention a few quick things. Bubble Mew. This card should not be $1,000. Don't get me wrong, it's a decent looking card with a unique appeal, but it's not like the Groudon from Paradox Rift where it's the clear-cut #1. There are several Mew cards I would choose over this. All of the Shining cards are pretty boring, and that's really the whole point of this set. We also have the set's version of the gold cards, which are pretty lame in my opinion. The one card I do want to point out is this Judge card. That's only because it is useful for making Pokemon videos. This is one of the easier tier decisions to make. F tier. Yes, I do think this set is a complete ripoff. You just can't have twice as many secret cards as you do regular cards. That's ridiculous. It feels like there was a lot of rapid changes in our rankings on the last few. Let's check out Temporal Forces and see where it lands. We're back to slightly more reasonable set structure with 162 cards and 56 secret rare cards. The set is sitting at $1,100 total value, which is pretty reasonable in today's market. Looking over the set, there's actually a lot to like here. I feel like people are starting to recognize that more over time, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the prices go up a bit from here. The immediate thing I want to point out is what I would consider the first legitimately good looking double rare EX card, this Gengar. Wow. I just feel like they nailed his vibe and their color choices were on point. There are also, of course, some solid regular cards, like this Scyther. This Totodile line is very well done, as well as this Pikachu and Raichu. There are also some awkward looking ones, like this Poochyena, and definitely this Dunsparce. I haven't been talking about Tran cards much, but we also see the return of A-Spec cards. Very useful for playing the TCG, but never much of a fan of them looks-wise, especially when you combo the pink with the Ancient and Future effects. Now, the more I look at the illustration and secret illustration rare cards in this set, the more they grow on me. My immediate reaction was mediocre. Even though there's incredibly bombastic cards like this Deerling to Sawsbuck combo artwork, there's also a bunch of more realistic and muted cards like this Cutiefly, Relicanth, and Meltan. Going by the price, I'm probably in the minority, but I started to appreciate them more the more I looked at them, especially the Relicanth. I also can't not mention this Drampa card, which is very weird, in a good way, as well as this cool Arbok card. A bunch of the SIRs are nice, but I'll jump straight to the Chase card, Raging Bolt EX. I really think this is a sweet spot for a Seth's Chase card. It's sitting at just under $100 Canadian right now, and it's just a cool card. It really fits the ancient vibes. The gold cards are bad again, but we have some cool full art trainers like this Morty and Airy. I feel good about putting this set in B tier. Just a good mid-road set that fits nicely into this generation. Outside of the scam that is Paldean Fates, we're starting to see some improvement in Scarlet and Violet. So we were finally approaching the halfway mark with Twilight Masquerade. The immediate thing that jumps out to me is that they did a good job matching up art styles with Pokemon in this set. This is illustrated most with the illustration rares. And Fernape's fiery fighting nature comes through with this art style. We have Frostlass being properly creepy and dreary as a ghost type. Heliolisk absolutely feels like a snappy little lizard that runs on water. Look how industrious Torkoal, Timburr, and Lairon are. All fitting artwork for the Pokemon. We also have Chansey being diligent, but also goofy. I can't forget this very cozy feeling Eevee card. Perfect fit. There are also a few regular cards that jumped out at me. This action shot of Rillaboom is cool. And then we see this very sad Poliwag. The artwork on this Goldeen is definitely unique. This Hisuian Arcanine gives me cave painting vibes and fits the fighting type nicely. I also want to mention all the Ogerpons. Ogerpon is a Pokemon that just does not make for good card artwork. Like, look at this Wellspring Mask Ogerpon or this Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. It's just so hard to make sense of them. That being said, the SIR versions of Ogerpon are probably as good as you could make an Ogerpon card with a style that makes sense for them. Still not a preferred Pokemon for me though. Finally, we can talk about the chase. I flipped back and forth on this card just because it's such a busy artwork. I'm of course talking about Greninja. It's $450, which is a lot of money, but because of the intensity of the artwork and how unique it is, I can absolutely see the appeal. Since it stands out so much, even across chase cards, I think it gives Mark and Twilight Masquerade's favor. Our regular to secret rare ratios have been pretty stable at this point, probably just the fatigue of being bombarded with such skewed sets that is starting to feel normal. At $1,400 Canadian, the set is fairly accessible, which I think is enough for me to edge it into the A tier, our first A. Now we jump into Shrouded Fable, which is effectively a mini set, even though it still has more cards than some full-size vintage sets like Jungle and Fossil at 64 regular and 35 secret rare cards. Because the set is so small, it's only $850 to complete it, but really that's right on point with the others, even leaning slightly expensive, just based on the size of the set. With the set being this small, it is easy to pick out cool looking cards, like this Houndoom, this Sylveon, and this Persian. On the flip side, that also means lesser cards like this Seadra and this Kingdra stand out too. Since half the set is secret rares, we can really judge the set based on them. It feels like a mixed bag. There are really some cards that I love here, like Fracture, Persian, and Houndoom. The Munkidori, Pheasantipity, Okidogi chain looks really nice together. The secret illustration rare versions of them came out just slightly off in my opinion. Just too dark maybe? Except for the Okidogi, with the green looking nice. Although this Beware made bullying me for this, I think this set is pretty mid and belongs comfortably in B tier. I mean, the most expensive card in this set right now is this damn gold Earthen Vessel. That should tell you something. Now on to Stellar Crown, and the first thing that jumps out to me is that they tried to balance the regular to secret rare ratio back to more manageable levels, with 142 and 33 secret. Unfortunately, they really already jumped the shark on this, and it's hard to undo the precedent they set. So I think Pokemon fans pushed back. At least it seems that way, with the set only being $550 total to complete it. Just not sought after at all in comparison to the others. I've actually had a lot of trouble placing this set. There are several cards that I like this Lapras, Ponyta, and Rapidash, and Celebi. The true best card is no doubt this Mo Rotom though. There are some rare cards that jump out as not so great, and they stick out more since there are less secret rare cards. Ones like this Daxpun and Orthworm. I'm also not a big fan of some of the SIRs like this other Daxpun and Terrapagos. I get the snowy vibe they're going for on this Raboot and Crabominable, but I don't think it worked at all, and the cards look too washed out. That being said, there are still some very cool secret rares as well. Taking a boring Pokemon like Hydrapple and turning it into cool cave painting artwork like this was smart. The intensity on the Zorora also makes for a really nice card. And we can't forget about the two chase cards of this set, Bulbasaur and Squirtle. They are both excellent cards. 100% makes sense that these would be the chases, and with both being around $80, it caps the top of the set nicely. Since I feel it's hard for me to pin down this set, it probably makes the most sense in B tier right now. Right down the middle. This is where many people consider the current market hype to have really kicked off. Surging Sparks. A set based around Pikachu is for sure going to have a lot of potential. This is a very big set with 191 regular rares and 61 secret rares, so it makes sense to jump straight to the core and look at the Pikachus. Probably know my stance on Terra cards at this point. They don't make for good looking cards. These 4 Pikachu cards are definitely on the upper half of Terra cards, but again, that's a pretty low bar. This Pikachu in particular had a high potential for greatness. Without the Terra effect, it could have been a top tier card. It still makes sense why this is the chase of the set, $370 though. Despite the core cards just being okay, there's a ton to like in this set. We have a menacing Skeledirge alongside this Ho-Oh. And check out this Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf trio. So peaceful. There have been a ton of good Mankey and Primate cards in Scarlet and Violet for some reason, and these keep the trend going. The thing that really endears me to this set is the amount of cheeky cards. Look at this Larvesta and Spheal, or this Fampy and Slackoff. Even this Durant fits the bill. But the one card that really sets the standard is a card I have on my shelf behind me. This incredible Alolan Doug trio. I've had this up there for months and do not get tired of looking at it. It feels like such a meme card, but it was executed so perfectly in my opinion. These cards, among some of the more traditional beautiful styles, push me to putting Surging Sparks in the A tier. Just a cool set all around. I want to cut right to the chase on Prismatic Evolutions. This set is garbage. When I was envisioning F tier, this is what came to mind. I'm thinking I may make a few people upset with this take, but I'll try and illustrate my reasons. We already have an original 151 set, a Charizard set, a Pikachu set, so why not hammer down on all that nostalgia and make an Evolution set? In essence, I'm okay with this, but off the back of wildly inflated cards like this Moonbreon, it felt like a calculated move for the sake of money, spiting what make Pokemon cards great. Straight up, this Umbreon is not a nice card. It's at $1,100 currently. And also look at how muddled and awful the artwork is on these 10 cards. And look at the prices. Crazy. It's not like there isn't nice cards in this set. That is only because this is a reprint set. Something I didn't even realize at first. This cool regular Flareon is just a Flareon from 151. I don't even think it's worth pointing out the new cards that I do actually think look good, and for one reason. The incredibly artificial scarcity they added to this set. I understand that not every card needs to be accessible to every person, although I do think it should lean that way, but adding Pokeball and Master Ball patterns to all the regular cards feels so scammy to me. This is for sure just not a way to spice up cards, it's a way to spice up their wallets. To top it all off, the pull rates for everything rare are incredibly terrible. They knew what they were doing. Straight to F tier with this one. I hate when Pokemon does stuff like this. After the craziness that happened with Prismatic, even though I don't think it was warranted, it was always going to be interesting to see what Pokemon released next. Just like what happened to Paradox Rift having to follow up 151, Journey Together is actually probably a little underrated. This set is currently only $860 Canadian, which is pretty low for a modern set with 190 total cards. Again, I think there only being 31 secret rares, half of some of these other sets, this has turned people off a bit. Having theme sets with trainer-focused Pokemon can be very cool. The Vintage Gym Challenge and Gym Hero sets are some of the greatest ever made. This is another set that I flipped back and forth on a few times. There are definitely a few cards I'm not a fan of. The Iono's Bellibolt EX is so awkward, for example, or this boring Bagon. This Pangoro also has some potential, but just didn't come together. The reason I'm flipping back and forth so much is that the more I look at the set, the more I like it. This Volcarona is a good example of a lesser Pokemon with cool artwork. There's also this Iono's Voltorb and this cool Cubone. I love how fat and centered it is. The first card I bought from the set is one of my favorite modern cards, this Articuno. The blue one here is just really nice in person. I like most of the illustration rares in the set, but a few cool ones to point out are this Wailord and this Furret. I also don't mind the ultra rares as much in this set, with this En's Zoroark and Hop's Zacian. The chase card, Lily's Clefairy, at $200 is fairly reasonable and a pretty nice card. Lily has a lot of fans, so it makes sense that this would be the chase for them. I myself prefer this Hop's Zacian, but there's a good breadth of stuff in here for having so few secret rares comparatively. I have a feeling that I may want to switch this set into the A tier in the future, but for now I feel like it's sitting at the high end of B tier for me. If you've been sleeping on the set, it's definitely worth checking out further. Alright, we are back to another set with a theme, Destined Rivals, a Team Rocket set, which I think is a great choice. The other Team Rocket sets in the past have been amazing. My immediate thought was, this set got super expensive super quick. It's already at $3,000, and the sealed product is rising like crazy. My second thought was, hey, another sweet Mo Rotom. But for real, there's some very nice artwork in this set. With the regular cards, I like the Sleepy Ponyta, the Team Rocket's Articuno, and this weirdly sinister Mareep. Destined Rivals really starts to set itself apart with the illustration rares, like some of these fire types, Rapidash, Ethan's Typhlosion, and Team Rocket's Houndoom. All excellent cards. These two Misty cards are also fantastic. Honestly, there are not a lot of misses in here. The intensity of this Zamazenta is weirdly endearing. You also can't talk about Destined Rivals without talking about the secret illustration rares. Most of these have really shot up in price, I wish they were cheaper, but I get why they're sought after for sure. This Team Rocket's Moltres is probably my personal favorite of them, but cards like this Ethan's Ho-Ho and Cynthia's Garchomp are not far behind. The absolute aura this Team Rocket's Mewtwo has is I'm sure the reason why it's the top chase of this set. We do unfortunately still see gold cards in here. However, they are better than so many of the others just because they are themed, like this other Ethan's Ho-Ho. I am of course dismayed that the set is so difficult to get right now, as well as the overstuffed size with 182 plus 62 secret rares. But I think over most of the sets in Scarlet and Violet, it definitely feels like they put a bunch of effort in this one. Putting Destined Rivals in A tier feels like the right call to me. If they pared the set down a little, I could have seen it creep into the S tier over time. Regardless, the set is going to maintain its popularity for sure. On to the final chunk. I want to talk about White Flare and Black Bolt together as they really share the same pros and cons, and they were released together as sibling sets. These sets are already crazy expensive, almost reaching $4,000 Canadian just completed already. The real kicker is, they're each half secret rares. I get the sense the pull rates have been a little bit better in these sets, but it's still pretty ridiculous to balance them this way. When looking through Black Bolt and White Flare, what I mostly feel is disappointment. Black and White is a great generation and has some very cool Pokemon in it. I would even go as far to say there are some truly top tier cards in these sets. I'm a big fan of this Hydreigon and the Reshiram from White Flare, as well as a Zekrom and Larvesta from Black Bolt. Honestly, there are a ton of just really cool cards in these sets. If they didn't do a few key things, I would not have questioned A tier for these. I already mentioned the crazy set balance with regular secret rare cards. That's a big knock against right there. The second key thing is bringing back the Pokeball and Master Ball patterns. You know how I feel about that from Prismatic. Big miss. The final thing, and I may get some hate for this, the chases of this set are awful. The Zekrom and Reshiram are mid-tier at best, but these all-red Victinis are terrible, and the fact that they're the exact same across both sets feels like a terrible way to cap the sets off. Those three things are enough to knock these sets all the way down to C tier for me. Just disappointing because you again can see the potential, but it just feels like a big fumble to me. Alright, there you have it, my complete Scarlet and Violet Pokemon card tier list. Going through each set, card by card, took a lot of time, but honestly, I would recommend it to everyone. It's a great way to find those sneaky little cards that you end up loving. And a bunch of those sneaky cards turned out to be pretty cheap, and my wallet for sure loved that. If you got this far, I truly appreciate you watching. Let me know if you want tier lists of the other generations, because I'm already itching to do them. If you could subscribe and reply down below with your tier list, that would be awesome. This really lets me know that you're actually watching these, and that means a lot to me. Thanks, see you next time.